Well, hey there, culinary comrades. Ever get the feeling that somewhere along the line, we traded common sense for convenience? Don't get me wrong, I love me some modern gadgets, but sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Today, we're going back to simpler times, back to Grandpa's kitchen, where ingenuity ruled and waste was a foreign concept. We're unearthing those forgotten food hacks, those little tricks that'll have you saying, "Why didn't I think of that?" So, grab a spoon, put on your thinking caps, and get ready to unlock the secrets of the past. We're about to embark on a culinary journey where practicality meets deliciousness. Let's get cooking, old school style. Now, picture this. You're a rugged cowboy, up before the sun, the smell of campfire smoke in the air. You need a strong cup of joe to kickstart your day, but fancy espresso machines are nowhere in sight. Enter Cowboy Coffee, a testament to simplicity and bold flavor. Forget those single-use filters and fancy pour-overs. We're going back to basics. This, my friends, is coffee brewed with grit and determination. The key here is coarse coffee grounds, the kind that look like they could double as sandpaper. And forget about measuring cups, we're eyeballing it, just like Grandpa used to do. Get ready to brew a pot that'll put hair on your chest and flavor in your cup. This is coffee the way nature intended it, bold, unapologetic, and ready to fuel your day. First things first, get that water simmering over an open flame, or if you're stuck in the city, a stovetop will do. Once you've got a good rolling boil, toss in your coarsely ground coffee, about 2 heaping tablespoons per 8 ounces of water. Now, here's the secret. Take it off the heat and let it steep for a good 4 minutes. This allows the coffee to fully infuse without becoming bitter. Remember, we're extracting flavor, not punishing our taste buds. After steeping, sprinkle a little cold water over the top. This helps the ground settle to the bottom, creating a natural sediment layer. No need for fancy filters here, folks. Carefully pour yourself a cup, leaving the last bit in the pot for those brave souls who dare to challenge the grounds. Congratulations, you've just brewed coffee like a true pioneer. All right, folks, let's talk potatoes, those humble tubers that have graced dinner tables for centuries. But today, we're not talking mashed, baked, or even fried. No, we're going for crispy, golden perfection, and for that, we need a secret weapon: lard. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lard, isn't that, well, unhealthy? Well, hold your horses, because lard, my friends, has gotten a bad rap over the years. It's making a comeback, and for good reason. You see, lard has a higher smoke point than many other cooking oils, meaning it can withstand higher temperatures without breaking down. This translates to crispier potatoes without the burnt flavor. Plus, lard adds a depth of flavor that you just can't replicate with other fats. It's rich, savory, and adds a certain je ne sais quoi that'll have you coming back for more. Now, you can find rendered lard at most grocery stores these days, but if you're feeling adventurous, you can even render your own. Just cube up some pork fat, toss it in a saucepan over low heat, and let it slowly melt down. Once your lard is nice and melted, it's time to introduce the potatoes. Cut them into your desired shape, wedges, fries, even diced, and toss them in the hot lard. Remember, we want them coated evenly for maximum crispiness. Now, here's the key. Don't overcrowd the pan. Give those potatoes room to breathe, to really crisp up and develop that beautiful golden crust. Cook them in batches if you have to. Trust me, it's worth the extra effort. Season generously with salt and pepper, or get creative with your favorite herbs and spices. Once they're cooked through and golden brown, drain them on paper towels to remove excess grease. Congratulations, you've just unlocked the secret to potato perfection. We've all been there, staring down a plate of scrambled eggs that look more like rubbery yellow bricks than a breakfast fit for, well, anyone. But fear not, my culinary compadres, for Grandpa's wisdom holds the key to unlocking scrambled egg nirvana. The secret ingredient? It's not some exotic spice from a far-off land, but a humble pantry staple: cornstarch. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cornstarch? In my eggs? Trust me on this one. You see, cornstarch is a natural thickener. When combined with a bit of liquid, in this case, a touch of milk, it forms a slurry that will change your egg game forever. This slurry, my friends, is the magic bullet against rubbery eggs. Think of it this way. Egg proteins are a bit like tiny, tightly wound springs. When exposed to heat, they tend to coil up even tighter, squeezing out moisture and leaving you with a less than desirable texture. But the cornstarch slurry? It acts as a buffer, a peacekeeping force if you will, preventing those proteins from getting too cozy and squeezing the life out of your breakfast. So, ditch those rubbery eggs and embrace the power of cornstarch. Your taste buds and your breakfast companions will thank you. All right, folks, we've got our cornstarch slurry ready to go. Now, let's talk about the cooking process. If you're used to cranking up the heat and scrambling your eggs in a frenzy, pump the brakes. We're going for creamy, custard-like perfection here. And that requires a gentler approach. Low and slow, my friends, that's the name of the game. Patience is key, but trust me, the payoff is worth it. High heat will toughen those egg proteins. Low heat allows them to relax into a smooth, velvety texture. So, lower that flame, take a deep breath, and embrace the low and slow method. Your taste buds will thank you. Now, let's move on to Grandpa's next life hack. Now, let's talk coffee. That morning elixir, that afternoon pick-me-up, that essential fuel for, well, life itself. But sometimes, and I'm sure you've been there, that steaming cup of joe can be, shall we say, a tad on the bitter side. But before you go blaming your taste buds or, heaven forbid, a subpar roast, let's turn to Grandpa's wisdom for a surprisingly simple solution: eggshells. Yes, you heard that right. Those seemingly useless calcium casings that you typically relegate to the trash bin? Turns out, they're secret weapons in the fight against coffee bitterness. You see, coffee beans naturally contain acidic compounds. When brewed, these compounds can lend a certain sharpness, a tongue-tingling bitterness that not everyone finds appealing. That's where the eggshells come in. Eggshells are naturally alkaline, meaning they have a pH higher than 7. Remember that pH scale from high school chemistry class? Well, it turns out that alkalinity and acidity are like two sides of a seesaw. When combined, they neutralize each other, bringing balance to the force, or in this case, the flavor of your coffee. So, instead of tossing those eggshells in the trash, give them a good rinse, crush them up a bit, and add them to your coffee grounds before brewing. You'll be amazed at the difference a few humble eggshells can make. But Grandpa's coffee wisdom doesn't stop there. Next up, we'll explore the art of the perfect coffee-to-water ratio for a brew that's both flavorful and invigorating. Stay tuned. Adding eggshells to your coffee grounds can tame bitterness, but there's another crucial factor: the coffee-to-water ratio. Get this wrong, and even the freshest beans won't save your brew. Coffee brewing is all about extraction. Too little water, and you'll get a strong, bitter brew. Too much water, and you'll have a watery disappointment. The golden ratio: 1 to 16 coffee to water. For every gram of coffee, use 16 grams of water, or 2 tablespoons of ground coffee for every 6 ounces of water. Now, let's move on to another one of Grandpa's kitchen hacks: bacon grease. Now, let's talk bacon. That crispy, savory, smoky delight that's as at home on a breakfast plate as it is crumbled atop a gourmet burger. But while we all love indulging in a few slices, or, let's be honest, a whole plateful of bacon, what happens to that leftover grease? If your answer is pouring it down the drain, well, you're missing out on a culinary goldmine. You see, bacon grease, far from being a waste product, is a flavor powerhouse just waiting to be unleashed. Think of it as liquid gold, imbued with the smoky essence of cured pork belly. It's got a high smoke point, meaning it can withstand high temperatures without burning, making it ideal for frying and sautéing. Plus, it adds a depth of flavor that plain old cooking oil just can't match. But the benefits of bacon grease go beyond its culinary prowess. It's also incredibly versatile. Use it to fry eggs to crispy perfection, sauté vegetables with a smoky depth, or add a spoonful to cornbread batter for a savory southern twist. You can even use it to grease baking pans, adding a subtle bacon essence to your baked goods. So, the next time you're cooking up a batch of bacon, don't even think about pouring that precious grease down the drain. Alright, so you're convinced that saving bacon grease is the way to go. But how do you properly store this liquid gold to ensure its longevity and prevent any unwanted flavors from creeping in? Well, fear not, my frugal foodies, for the process is as simple as it is satisfying. First things first, let that bacon grease cool down a bit. We don't want to scald ourselves or, heaven forbid, crack our storage container. Once it's cooled to a safe handling temperature, grab a fine mesh sieve and a heat-safe container. A glass jar with a tight-fitting lid works wonders, but you can also use a ceramic container or even a sturdy plastic container if that's what you've got on hand. Now, position your sieve over the container and carefully pour the cooled bacon grease through it. This will catch any stray bacon bits or crumbles that might have hitched a ride. We want our bacon grease to be as pure as possible, free from any impurities that could shorten its shelf life. Once strained, pop that lid on tight and store your bacon grease in the refrigerator. It'll solidify as it cools, but don't worry, that's perfectly normal. When you're ready to use it, simply scoop out the desired amount and let it come to room temperature or gently warm it on the stovetop. Stored properly, your bacon grease will last for several months in the refrigerator, ready to add a punch of flavor to all your culinary creations. Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, well, you know the rhyme. But seriously, beans are a nutritional powerhouse. Packed with protein, fiber, and more minerals than a geologist's backpack, they're a staple in cuisines around the world. But let's be honest, their reputation for causing, shall we say, musical interludes can be a bit of a deterrent. That's where Grandpa's wisdom comes in. See, he knew a thing or two about coaxing the best out of simple ingredients. And when it came to beans, he had a trick up his sleeve, or rather, in his pantry. Baking soda. Yes, that unassuming box lurking near the back, usually reserved for volcanic science projects or deodorizing the refrigerator. Turns out, a pinch of baking soda added to your pot of beans is like a culinary magic trick. Not only does it help to break down those complex sugars that lead to, digestive discord, but it also works wonders in the texture department. And as if that wasn't enough, it even shaves a bit of time off the cooking process. Now that's what I call a win-win-win situation. So, next time you're whipping up a pot of chili, or maybe a hearty bean soup, remember Grandpa's little secret. A touch of baking soda is all it takes to transform your beans from humble to heavenly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Alton, are you telling me that a little baking soda is all I need for perfect beans? Well, almost. See, it's not just about tossing it in willy-nilly. There's a method to this bean-based madness, a scientific reason why this works. Baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate for you chemistry buffs, is an alkaline substance. When added to water, it raises the pH level, essentially making it more basic. Beans, on the other hand, contain these pesky little compounds called pectin. Pectin is what helps give plant cell walls their structure, but it can also make our beloved beans tough and, dare I say, chewy. The alkalinity of the baking soda solution works its magic by softening those pectin molecules. Think of it like this. The baking soda is like a tiny jackhammer, breaking down the pectin walls and allowing the beans to cook more evenly and quickly. And as a bonus, those broken down pectins also contribute to a creamier, more appealing texture. So there you have it. The science behind softer, more digestible beans. It's like a culinary magic trick, only this time you get to be the magician. And trust me, your taste buds and your digestive system will thank you for it. Now, I know what you're thinking. A coffee can? For bread? Has he finally gone off the deep end? But hear me out, folks. This is a trick straight out of Grandma's playbook, back when kitchens were stocked with ingenuity instead of single-use gadgets. You see, a plain old coffee can, the kind your grandpa used to store nails in, makes a surprisingly effective bread mold. It's all about that cylindrical shape, creating a tall, sturdy loaf with a delightfully crusty exterior. Plus, there's just something satisfying about repurposing something so humble. It's like giving that old can a delicious new lease on life. And don't even get me started on the aroma that fills the kitchen as the bread bakes. It's enough to make you want to break out your grandpa's cardigan and reminisce about the good old days. But before you grab the nearest can of Folgers, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First, we're talking about the metal kind here, not those newfangled plastic containers. And second, make sure it's clean as a whistle. We want that bread tasting of yeasty goodness, not last year's coffee grounds. Now that we've got the coffee can situation sorted, let's move on to the main event. The dough. We're not cutting any corners here, folks. We're talking a good old-fashioned yeast bread recipe, the kind that requires a bit of patience and a whole lot of love. Now, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by walking you through every single step of bread making. I'm confident you've got a trusty recipe up your sleeve. But here's the gist. Activate that yeast. Get your hands dirty kneading the dough, let it rise in a warm spot, and punch it down like it owes you money. Once you've got a beautiful, elastic dough ready to go, it's time to bring our trusty coffee can into the equation. Grease that can up like you're prepping a NASCAR racer. We want that bread sliding out effortlessly once it's done baking. Then, gently place your dough into the can, filling it about halfway. Now pop that bad boy into a preheated oven and let the magic happen. As the bread bakes, you'll be treated to the intoxicating aroma of yeast and flour filling your kitchen. Keep a close eye on your loaf, and once it's golden brown and sounds hollow when you tap it, you know it's time to pull it out. Let it cool in the can for a few minutes before carefully inverting it onto a wire rack. And there you have it, a beautiful, rustic loaf of bread baked to perfection in a humble coffee can. Now, I know what you're thinking. Watered down milk? That sounds like something you'd find in a Depression-era cookbook. And you know what? You're not wrong. This little trick comes straight from the days when folks had to stretch every ingredient as far as it could go. It's all about resourcefulness, about making the most of what you've got. But don't go thinking this is just some dusty old relic from the past. In today's world, where food prices seem to be climbing higher than a caffeinated squirrel, knowing how to stretch your ingredients is more relevant than ever. Plus, there are times when you just need a little bit of milk. And who wants to end up with a half-gallon going bad in the back of the fridge? Now, I'm not saying you should start pouring water into your cereal bowl and calling it a day. There's a fine art to stretching milk without sacrificing flavor or texture. The key is to start small and work your way up. We're talking about subtle additions, not turning your milk into a watery mess. So, grab your milk, your water, and your measuring cups, because we're about to unlock the secrets of this thrifty little kitchen hack. And trust me, your wallet will thank you for it. Let's say you're whipping up a batch of pancakes, and your recipe calls for a cup of milk. Instead of using the full amount, try substituting a quarter cup of water. That's right, just a quarter cup. You'll barely notice the difference in the final product, and you've just stretched your milk supply a little further. Now, this trick isn't limited to just pancakes. You can use it in all sorts of recipes, from creamy soups to savory sauces. The general rule of thumb is to start by replacing about 25% of the milk with water. Then, taste as you go and adjust accordingly. You might be surprised at how much milk you can save without sacrificing flavor. And here's a bonus tip for all you cereal lovers out there. If you find yourself running low on milk, try adding a splash of water to your bowl before pouring in the milk. It'll help to stretch your supply without making your cereal soggy. Just remember, a little goes a long way. So, there you have it. The secret to stretching your milk supply and saving a few pennies along the way. It's a trick that's been passed down through generations, and one that's just as relevant today as it was in the past. So, next time you're feeling the pinch, remember this little hack and make that milk go the extra mile. Well, there you have it, folks. A handful of Grandpa's old life hacks that are as relevant today as they were back in the day. From brewing a robust cup of cowboy coffee to stretching your milk supply, these tips prove that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Remember, a resourceful cook is a happy cook, and with a little ingenuity, you can tackle any culinary challenge that comes your way. Thanks for watching. If you found these old school tips helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing life hacks from the past. See you next time.